What every voter needs to know about climate change.
What every voter needs to know about climate change.
Climate change theory is where the water of science passes through the mud of politics and comes out dirty. Any good statistician will privately tell you the orthodox theory of climate change is fatally flawed. College activists cheerlead a doctrine they can't explain and don't understand, all while donning a phony halo of saving the planet. But they seem to use the climate as a club to bash capitalism and anyone richer than they are. Like opportunistic socialists, they use climate as a pretext to increase government control and move the country left. They typically argue by shouting, "Why would you deny that climate change is real?" No one is denying that, silly. That's a bad question because of its false presumption. It's used as a red herring to dodge their own burden of proof. Those who assert a theory must prove it in science. They haven't proved it yet. For 30 years, their models have been wrong, always predicting more warming than has occurred. We agree that climate has always been in flux. The flux is real, but so what? The important question is, how do they know how much warming is due to man's carbon emissions alone and not from natural forces? They don't know that. They only pretend to. They have no control group for the Earth to test it. Causation is proved by the law of one variable. As is, they have an observational study with hundreds of variables in action simultaneously. Good statisticians never rule out lurking variables in an observational study. But the leftist climate change orthodoxy does, which reveals its dishonest statistics. We are about 11,000 years into an interglacial warming period that typically lasts up to 15,000 years. There have been 4 such cycles of colder, warmer weather over the past 500,000 years. Thus, the logical question to ask is, if natural forces caused interglacial warming cycles like ours before man's carbon emissions, then to what extent are those same natural forces causing it now? Natural forces include sun cycles, water vapor levels, which are the biggest greenhouse gas, not carbon dioxide, and especially the planet's long cycle of wobble and tilt. Those all affect planet temperature. Until their precise roles are known and subtracted from nominal warming, we can't say what role man plays alone. That's the simple logic Greta Thunberg, the UN, and the socialists on campus never address, because it's fatal to their case. Former NASA meteorologist Thomas Wismuller said, CO2 level has risen for 58 consecutive years with no detectable acceleration of sea level rise. The data indicate human-caused warming doesn't significantly increase the rate of sea level rise. Climate extremist Prof. Michael Mann countered that man-made global warming will melt Antarctic ice due to basic physics. Mr. Weismuller responded that since Antarctic ice is far below freezing already, a degree or two of warming, even if it occurs for whatever reasons, will still be below freezing and not melt the ice. Mann overlooked that basic physics. It's typical of leftists on climate change. They grasp at straws to defend the indefensible. Since climate propagandists have predicted disaster for years, now they want to be proven right, not wrong. It's more a matter of psychology and face-saving than of science today. Psychologists are needed. Jordan Peterson has said that people of no achievement will glom onto political causes as an easy way to get status fast without doing anything but parroting a dogma. Greta Thunberg, for example. Data that makes them look wrong will be ignored or poo-pooed as it has been regarding sea levels and the planet's wobble and tilt. Man's causal role can only be inferred from proving a very high correlation between man's carbon emissions and changes to the planet's temperature. Ask activists, what is the value of your correlation coefficient R, and what raw data supports it? They probably don't know it from a handsaw. Then ask why we square R in statistics. It tells us how often planet temperature acts independently of man's carbon emissions by the formula Y equals 1 R2. Then ask for the confidence level of their belief in catastrophic man-made global warming. If it is only 99%, why do they talk as if it were 100%? And what confidence interval does their 99% confidence level require based on the tabled values for their Z or T distribution? And remind them that the true mean temperature of the Earth, mu, remains an unknown population parameter that we try to estimate with statistics because they talk as if they are unaware of the uncertainty implicit in their statistics. And how do they prove their temperature samples were randomly selected? And how do they know all their thermometers were accurate to hundredths of a degree, as they must be for the UN's result of 14.69 C in 2018 to properly contain 4 significant figures? They should know all those things because it's the very essence of their case. But notice that those who assert the theory of imminent, man-made, catastrophic global warming on TV and in print never mention R2 confidence levels, confidence intervals, or lurking variables. And when asked to justify their theory, climate activists and politicians, the true believers, get hysterical and shout, "settled science," or denier, as if parrots stuck in a cage of ideology and unable to reason on their own. Whereas the learned skeptics Stephen Koonin, Richard Lindzen, and Gregory Wrightstone talk far more intelligently about the Earth's climate than the left scientists and activists. Yet the mainstream media acts as if the skeptics know less than the campus activists. That is what is so absurd and laughable. Politically biased, lazy, non-investigative journalists staff the mainstream media today. Think of NBC as a branch office of the DNC, Democrat National Committee. Stephen Doty.